Hi there, we are going to start building the gallery project using React, Firebase, Material UI and other packages. So let's get started. We're going to create now a folder for this project. And we will drag it to the Visual Studio. Now we are going to create the React app. It would be in the same folder, so we put the dot. Now let's delete the files that we don't need. And the imports related to that files. All of this extra code, we don't need it. Also inside the public, we will delete these files. In the index also we will remove the code that we don't need it to make it more clean. And we will rename the project. Let's start the project and check if it is working. Now we are going to build all of these components. It's the nav bar, the form for adding, and also the images list. So we will add new folder, we will call it components. Side of it, one of the components is the nav to include the drop menu and the avatar. We will create upload and images list as folders because it could include one or more components. Let's now import them in the app component. And now let's check if our structure is working fine. Now we need to go to Material UI to install the package and make our project looks prettier. This font is the default font for Material UI, so we need to copy it to the index file. We need also the icons beside the package core. Now we will include the container instead of the div. We need to add styling to the container so it will look better and the components inside of it more centralized. Now we are going to build the nav component. We're going to look for the menu inside the Material UI. We're going to use this. So we are going to copy the code. And replace the whole thing in here. And rename it again back to the nav component. Now we are going to add our changes. We're going to delete the things we don't need. Yeah, we will need only profile, settings, and logout. If we check now, it should work. It's working as supposed to be. We are going now to simulate the user that we are going to receive from the Firebase. Now we will make it null as it is logged out. This use state is only just for now. We will replace it later. Now we will check if the user is not available. That means that the user is null, it is not logged in. We will show him a login button. We are going to import a dummy profile image to check if the avatar is working. Let's check that it's working, and because the user is null, we see the login button. If we change it to be an object and included the email, display name, all of these we are going to receive them when we authenticate it through Firebase. So let's replace now the variable profile image with the variable inside the object of the user. We are going to show the first letter of the name, but if the name is not available or blank, we can extract the first letter of the email. That's only if there is no avatar image. We added this question mark to prevent triggering an error in case the object doesn't include that property. Now let's check if it is working. Perfect. It is showing us the avatar because we already imported the image. But if we are going to null that image, it should show us the first letter of the name. Now it is right, it shows us the first letter of the name, but if we make it null or empty or the property is not there, it would show us the first letter of the email. Let's move now and build the form of the adding the images. We are going to add a new component. We will call it form. This component will include the button to add the images. We are adding the multiple to allow the user to upload multiple files in the same time. Because of the add button will do the functionality of the input, we are going to make the input invisible. Now let's import the form component here. It is shown, but it is not working when you click on it. We need to add a reference to the input, so when we click on the add button, it will trigger a click on that input using that reference. Now let's click, it is working. Let's start building the images list. We are going to use the image lists in Material UI. This is what we chose. We are going to copy the code and place it inside the images list. If we check now, it looks small because there's a fixed width and height. We are going to delete that. We don't need it. And we are going to increase the height of the row. It looks now nice. Now we need to make some changes in the columns and rows. In this gallery, the array of the images are limited and it is fixed. And in every image object, it includes how many columns and how many rows that image will occupy. In our case, we need unlimited images to be uploaded inside our gallery. So we need another manner to make a pattern, and this pattern will be repeated again and again and again. For example, we are going to create a pattern from 8 type, and that pattern will be repeated again, so we need an equation to create that pattern. Let's first delete these columns and rows inside these images, and now we are going to create our pattern array. This array will decide how many rows and how many columns the image will occupy. The first image will occupy 2 rows and 2 columns. We are going to copy this 7 times, so it would be 8. This one is 2 rows, 2 columns, and this is 1 by 1, and this is 1 by 1, and this is 1 row, 2 column, and it is now flipped around. So this should be 1, 1. The next one also 1, 1. The fourth is 1 row, 2 columns. The one after it will start with 1 row, 2 column. The one after that is 2, 2. The one after that is 1, 1. And the last one is 1, 1. And we are going to repeat this pattern again and again. So we are going to use the length of this array to make the equation. We are going to replace this. We're going to add the index. This index will increase this index will increase by the number of images, but we need to extract the rows and the columns from a pattern array that its length is 8. So we need to start first from 0 until 7, but when it is 8, we need to divide it by 8 and multiply it by 8. When we divide 8 by 8, it is 1, and when we multiply it by 8, it is 8. So 8 minus 8 is 0. So we are resetting again to the first item and the index, when it is reached 16, it will reset again, and so forth. We need to replace it also the same here. And here. Let's check if it is working. And it is working. Now it goes back to the first pattern. We are going to install this lightbox package for the gallery. So when you click on the image, you can make it in a model in a big size and flip around all the images and also make them auto slide. If you check the documentation of this package, it states that you should wrap all images inside the context. It is simple-react-lightbox. This is the context, and also inside the container SRL wrapper. Let's check our work. It looks like there is some error. It looks like the webpack is not supporting the packages depending on Node.js, and they gave us a configuration so we can solve this problem. So let's apply this configuration in the webpack config file. Let's create that file to inject our settings. And copy these configuration one by one. Now we have to install the process. It should work fine. It is, but there's something wrong with the images. It's not applying the pattern as it should be. Sorry, we put the wrapper inside the loop while it should be outside the loop, wrapping all the images not one by one. Now it is working perfectly. If we clicked, it shows us the image. Now we need to add the date and the avatar and also the options to delete the image. Let's start with the date. So we need to install the moment package. We need to add some styling to the image. So the opacity would be 70%. And when we hover, we will make it 100% with transition. Now let's add the date in the left bottom corner. We'll make it positioned absolute. Now let's add a dummy date half an hour ago. So we will check the moment package. And we are going to add some styling to position this date in the left bottom corner of the image. Let's check now if it is working as it's supposed to be. It looks perfect. Now let's add the avatar. We are going to import the same image to check that the avatar is working. This is the title will be shown when you hover over the avatar. Now let's style it by positioning it in the right bottom corner of the image. Looks like nice. It looks fine, but we have problem here that it is included in the gallery images. That we don't want it. If we check the documentation of this package, we need to include this prop to make it hidden. Perfect. Now it is time to add the option in the top right corner of the image. So we are going to create a new component for that in case we are adding edit and more options to the delete. Let's just copy the content of the nav because it looks like the same. We just need to delete the things that we don't need. We will replace this with the vertical dots button. This is the icon for the dots, the vertical dots. Now it's decided to be transparent and positioned in the top right corner. When we click, it should open the menu. Now we have to import it inside the image list. We forgot to change the items of the menu to be only delete. We need the list item icon to include the delete icon inside it. Now it looks perfect and working also. Everything is working as it's supposed to be. But now let's delete the imports that we don't need from all the files. In the next video, we are going to create an account in Firebase, and we are going to create a new project and start uploading images into the storage of Firebase and also the database, and create also the security rules. So it will include the images that the user are going to upload, not just the dummy images that we included here.